But they do see the safe lane. They see Bane and they see Morphling, so I think it's kind of like weird that they wouldn't have picked their offlaner by now since they see the matchup. But honestly, it's kind of like up in their ball call to do whatever. And I don't know a lot of carries that provide team fight outside of like Faceless Void, but I don't know. Faceless is a little shaky into Bane, and if Morphling gets his strength more off, it's hard as well. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's basically they're lacking team fight right now, and they need it. That's something they just don't have it.
Something to like pull it all together is what you're saying. Because right now they're just like individual players. They're not really this team that moves together.
Like I see a bunch of ideas on T1, but they're not like they need something good. Because like Lina is a ranged, high damage dealing like core. She wants to sit and hit people. Razor, he wants to link someone up and hit them. They need lots of control for that. They have a stun in Ogre, they have a slow in Ench, but it's like not enough. Ogre's a hero that likes to buff his carry. Ench is a hero that likes to give their carry a good lane and give vision. But they don't have any heroes that catch and use that vision. They don't have a carry or a core that like really utilizes the like Ogre Bloodlust. They're just, it feels like they're missing a lot. Whereas on Neon, I like what I see. They have lots of control, they have lots of catch, they have setup and pick off and team fight, they have damage from Morphling, and a carry that's actually gonna like scale and carry the game. Like right now, Neon's like draft looks way better to me.
Well, while we're on the topic of OB.Neon, that Rubik, I do believe we have only seen Rubik one other time in SCA DPC, which was right before the break between TNC and Execration. So we haven't seen a lot of him. How do you feel for him, not only in this lineup, but just in this current meta now, 2 weeks later?
Rubik has kind of become one of those series, you know, in panel we laugh like, oh, they pick Rubik just because the 4 position loves to play the hero. The hero has definitely fallen off a lot over the years, just a lot of nerfs. Doesn't impact the laning stage as much. Used to just win lanes with Fade Bolt. Nowadays, not so much the case. It kind of gives you a weak lane. But the right game, I think Rubik can feel okay. I just don't look at this and think, oh, this is an amazing Rubik game. There's not like any crazy good spells to steal. There's some okay ones, but nothing like game winning.
He has been like a classically good lane partner with Marge just for the strength of the lane, and I like he helps like disengage for his team against like Razor and stuff and make it harder for him to play his game, especially when he gets shard. Tinker is honestly like such a nice pick here. Talking about their lack of catch. Yeah, good luck with that Tinker, man.
It's the third game in a row where Neon have a hero or strat prepared that is there, and they're going to force T1 to respond. It's like, what are you going to do now?
And I mean, looking at this countdown for their last pick, I don't know what T1's thinking. I do think this Tinker has kind of caught them a little bit off, like on surprise, and they're trying to use as much time as they can to be like, okay, we don't have this catch. What are we going to do now?
And if they only address Tinker, then they maybe don't have enough to deal with a Morphling as well. Like these are 2 heroes they both maybe need some catch for. Instead of trying to go for catch, they just say, let's try and out carry them. They pick Medusa.
No, that sucks.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I'm with you. I'm with you, Chico. Don't worry. I like Neon's draft a lot here, and we saw how it all comes down to getting out of that laning stage because you're up against Enchantress, you're up against Ench Ogre. These are lane dominators. I think T1 saw game 1. We crushed the lane, we won the game, and they're trying to go back to that. But if they don't crush the lanes here, I do worry that OB.Neon is just going to have a much better mid to late game.
They're kind of hoping we go back to game number 1 and they're like, we can do this laning space so much better than they can.
I see. My only problem with Medusa is I don't think it answers Tinker. However, I do see the ideas in general. She's a Skadi buyer, which is good against Morphling. She does have an ult that gives them team fight. Like they have no team fight. This isn't like a team fight stun, but it's a team fight spell. When she uses ult, they have to like look away. It breaks up the fight. It is like answers to some stuff and like fixes some of their holes. It just seems really hard for them to execute the game because they don't have a single hero that just like catches. They have no catch. None.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have heard our thoughts for game number 3 draft, but I'm going to head on over to John and MLP as they're going to be casting this game number 3 for us.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are into game number 3 between OB.Neon and T1. And well, John, I'd hate to ruin the mood, but it does appear we have a Tinker being picked up here for Mamang Daya. Could you please explain to me and the viewers why this is a terrible pick or a good pick? I just assume it's terrible.
It's actually pretty good here. I think when you look at T1's draft, they don't have the natural Tinker counters. There's no Nyx, there's no Clockwork, no easy way to get a jump on him once he has his blink up. And as the game skills on, you know, once he hits level 18, he's going to be all over the map. He's going to provide a lot of damage. He's going to farm pretty fast here. There might be some overlap with the farm of the Tinker and the farm of the Morph. But for the most part, you're pretty well protected here. And I think that's my issue with T1's draft. Like, you and I were having a chat about the last pick, Dusa. And you had a good point that anything else the Morphling will be able to turn into and just use that against him. But the Dusa as well, it just doesn't feel like it ties in this draft from T1. Like, they still lack control, we saw in Game 2. When Neon had Ravage and Overgrowth, they could really play the 5v5 team fights. They were just pressuring every single time. When T1 wasn't applying pressure in the map, they'd be the ones on the hunt. They'd shut down Savage. They could play that same way here. They don't have the biggest team fight. Like, they don't have follow-through for, say, the Arena this time around from Enryu, but you still have good hold from the Bane with the grip. There's nothing to instantly cancel, like a Clockwork hook from back or a Nyx to kind of sneak around. It's, again, very reliant on Carl or Whitemon to kind of find an angle somehow to get the Fire Blaster LSA off, and that's just a lot to ask for from, especially an Ogre support. It's a lot to ask for from that.
Right. Well, thank you for explaining that, Jonathan. I was kind of hoping you'd back me up and tell everyone why Tinker's a terrible hero and Icefrog should delete it ASAP, but, well, there you go. Apparently there's a point to this hero being in this game. We do have the go-ahead, by the way. We had a very, very quick pause between these two teams, but it looks like we are ready to go into game number 3. And luckily so, Jonathan, because apparently we're going to have a 5-man smoke to start off this game. See if it does lead to anything. I imagine they're just going to go straight into the warding in that mid lane, but see if OB.Neon want to get a fight going. Go on, John, translate. What's going on?
Oh, there's a lot of Bahasa in there, and Cuckoo just comes in and says, just Tagalog, please. Nothing else. And for some reason, he called Abeng Yuso. Abeng and Abed, the mix-up everyone loves to call out. And Abad, you have to remember that. And Carl again, Abeng, the best captain with the 4. These guys, they never stop. Good to see both sides in high spirits, though. You know, we did hear Mamang Dai in his interview that he was looking forward to playing against his Indonesian idols to learn Abeng with Tagalog teacher. Oh, God.
Oh, goodness me. Oh, how was Christmas, by the way, John? I never got to ask you. How was your Christmas? Did you have fun?
Yeah, it was fun. You know, just sat in, ate, and just a lot of eating, as you tend to do. And pretty much it. Maybe had a bottle of wine or two. I had a bunch of mate to stay up till New Year's, you know, all of that good jazz.
Yeah, I didn't know you were a wine drinker, John.
Yeah, we have wine and cheese a lot. It's hurting my wallet because my parents make me pay for it.
You're a caster, Jonathan. You're a big name out there. I saw you streaming with 200 viewers, John. Surely you've got the money from all those subs?
Yeah, one would hope, Mike. One would hope. You know, if you streamed more paint drying, we'd make a lot more. But hey, you're a busy guy. I get it, Mike.
Yeah, I shout out to those people that did tune in to me literally painting a wall and watching it dry. That was last night. Sorry if you missed out, but we had a lot of fun, Jonathan. Paint dries relatively fast, apparently, believe it or not.
Good to know, Mike. Otherwise, well, you know, your performance could be affected by the paint. Still, gonna take a look at the lanes. A bit of a tri-lane start up top from Neon. They TP at Abeng. So Abeng, Palace, and Norman playing offensively here up against Whitemon and Savage, looking to maybe just pin down that Deuce's farm. They do have a lot of control here. They could try to play with Nightmare down the line. They've got the lift. They've got the Fade Ball to slow down Savage's right click. Not much Whitemon can do to relieve that pressure, Mike. He's a lonely Ogre Magi. He's got the Ignite. He could try chasing someone down. But Norman has boots, and, well, Whitemon doesn't. So he's not really going to be able to chase at all. Not even a little stone up to help him out. And that just means both these range supports can just constantly throw the right clicks out and zone Whitemon off instead.
Well, that's exactly what they're doing. In fact, now they move on to Savage, and Savage, currently at level 1, does not have the mana shield, so he's taking a lot of damage from the side of OB.Neon. In fact, the Bang, he does not have another brain set for 5, but it's just so much damage being dealt. Savage will be salved up, but OB.Neon, they might just try again. Even if he does have that mana shield available, at level 1, it may not feel like enough.
No, certainly not. It's going to be a bit tough to sustain Savage here. They already blew one salve off. Whitemon going to have to just try and keep it in control. He's got another salve coming in on the Courier. so you can try to keep Savage alive. But really great work from Neon to kind of zone out Savage. And if you slow down this Deuce's farm, it's not going to be able to get that item advantage you want it to have. We were talking about what Savage might need in this game up against the Tinker. It feels like he's going to need a BKB, maybe some sort of protective item at the least, to ensure that the lasers aren't going to affect him too much with his right click, to ensure that the damage coming through from everyone else isn't going to just burn him down and lock him in. And if you need that kind of item plus more to get damage off, it takes a lot of time for Reducer to hit that farming spike. So this is a great way from Neon to keep that in check, and as long as Savage isn't farming well, they're going to be happy sharing this EXP here.
Well, we have a chance, John. We should have a look at the other lanes quickly just to see what's going on there. So, of course, mid lane, Carl is going to be against Mamang Daya. And, of course, bot lane, the one we're looking at right now, Enryu against Zephyr and Cuckoo. Talk to me about the bot lane while we're here, John. Obviously, Enryu being left behind on this Mars. He's just completely solo. He seems to be doing okay in terms of just soaking XP and getting a bit of CS. So they aren't completely able to just kind of lock him down and stop him from doing this. I suppose you'd call that a pretty big win here for OB.Neon.
Yeah, the fact that he can just soak EXP, get some decent farm, not really be under any kill threat is great. I mean, the lane matchup for Razor versus Mars, it goes both ways, but for the Mars, you can always spear back. So you're not under threat of a full static link, you're not under threat of giving out too much damage towards Razor. You've always got the Bulwark as well to reduce a lot of that incoming range damage. Zephyr is doing a good job of just playing greedier in this lane. He was clearing out some camps, he's had access to the large camp, just allowed to kind of build up on the edge and kind of hit his own spikes. They do rotate Norman in already to kind of relieve that pressure, seeing that maybe they've gotten their objective done at top. So they're here to kind of just help Enryu's lane out. But still, getting those first 4 levels without too much pressure is already good news for Enryu. You do have to worry about Cuckoo hitting that early Falcon Blade timeline. He's been allowed to farm up pretty freely, 17-6. So your Razor is set to maybe hit that early Falcon Blade, start running down, playing around with the enchant on the Enchantress and just looking for a kill.
Oh, bang. Does end up going down for first blood. Wyman able to pick that one up, and Palos! I'm not sure what Palos' idea there was, but he tried to go for the man fight, and I don't even know if he was strength morphing.
Looked like he wasn't. He is pretty full on Azure right now. He had 10 charges on the Magic Wand. He had a lot of mana to play with, so good kills coming out from T1. Neon maybe just being a bit too confident now. Mamang Daya.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this creep. The enchanted creep from Zephyr just blocking up Mamang Daya. It does eventually expire, but they do force him out of the lane and do at least buy a bit of space here for Carl in the mid lane.
Yeah,
not that he needs it, John. He's 25 and 10 right now.
He's doing great in that mid matchup, Mike. With Mamang Daya, I mean, he's trying his best to just clear out creep wave, use that laser to force out. But Carl does have better reach. He does have better harassment. Like, you're relying on maybe just spamming out heat seeking to get some damage in yourself. And that's tough. You don't have your soul ring yet. You're not yet level 6 with a rearm. So man is still a bit of an issue for the Tinker in the laning phase, and Carl's using that opening quite well, just building up, hitting his spikes as the Lina. We've seen this before in game 1. If Carl's Lina does go off to a running start, it can set the pace. It can be the actual carry as well, and just in case Savage doesn't manage to find too much space for himself, the Lina can carry that burden towards the mid and early late game.
No, absolutely. Mamang Daya is still able to keep up on the Tinker, but it's not the old school Tinker that we used to remember with the March of the Machines. Thankfully, I might add. That was just hellish to watch over and over again if it was a Tinker meta. I suppose now Tinker's not quite as bad. I kind of cringe saying that, Jonathan. I think it's still a terrible hero, but what can you do? You've got to be unbiased.
It's still plenty annoying. You know, he gets free travel, it's up with a King Conveyance at 6, so you sacrifice March, you get free travels, you still have wave clear with a laser. It's still plenty annoying, Mike, if you're up against the Tinker, and that's what you need to see later on.
Yeah, Bang may have gone too far to try and secure this power rune, as Carl will be able to finish the job off. Secure there from Whitemon as well with the Fire Blast out and just taking the Nightmare off him. In fact, Mamang Daya, he's in big trouble. Zephyr rotated over. Fire Blast will be there. Narman, he'll try to save the day. The LSA is going to land though, and that will be more than enough for Whitemon to just move his way in and get the job done. In the meantime, it did feel like they were trying to go after Savage top lane, but they were unable to kill him off. So T1, they get a hell of a double kill in that mid lane.
Huge win. 41-0-4. The aggression certainly come true here from T1. Much more aggressive early on. We're seeing great use of Zephyrus Enchantress. Does manage to spot the stacks out in the triangle as well. is going to be able to kind of contest, force the movements out again onto the inch. And that's all you want as the Enchantress. I mean, you're forcing movements, you're forcing responses, you're freeing up your side lanes to keep building up. And as long as the supports aren't able to kind of help out Palos, for example, you're really happy with just forcing the attention away. Like, there's a lot of heroes that need farm on Neon. We talked about Mamudai. He still needs a little bit more. He does have the Soul Ring up and does have level 6. The Keen Convenience is there and the spam is available if he wants.
Palos could be in a bit of danger. Whitemon, he's looping around that tree line within the fog. Palos has no idea the Ogre's around. That Fire Blast, if it lands, they might have enough damage. Whitemon is still waiting. Gonna move in now, but he gets the Strength Morph in time. Very quick reaction there from Palos. He had absolutely no idea that the Whitemon was there in the fog, but those were some quick fingers there from the Morphling.
Oh, yeah. Just quick reaction. That's what you'd like to see from Palos. He is still keeping up in farm relative to Savage, so you are still getting something out here for your Morphling, despite all that movement out. And despite Zephyr scouting out those stacks, he wasn't able to clear. So now Mamudai gets a lot of flash farm going here, like clearing out the large stack and going for more. They do manage to catch out Abing, but that does secure space for Abdaya, so I think they'll take it.
I mean, you just want those creeps to go the way of the Tinker. And that being said, though, Jonathan, we've seen this before. Carl is just well and truly ahead, and speaking of those creeps, they go after the Ancient Camp instead that was left behind. I'm not sure if OB.Neon can actually defend this. And Carl's got a double damage rune going to boot, so it's going to be even scarier trying to move into that high ground. It does feel like T1, they're just going to be able to get away with all this.
Yeah, it's a huge amount of farm they're stealing away as well from Neon. That is gold they desperately need, particularly on Dia. If you want that Tinker to hit the blink time, you want him to be jumping around, causing havoc, he's going to be forced elsewhere. There was a bit of a clump up from Neon onto the mid. I think they were expecting a bit of a shove-in that area, but there was no movement out from T1 there. And Neon now are starting to lose a lot of resources on the map. That's a lot of time and dedication out from the supports to get those stacks up. So they just kind of fed the enemy team. Dia is still playing in the bot jungle, is protected by the Obs Ward, so our Tinker's still managing to build up. Enryu's looking for an angle though, but it's just a bit tough when Cuckoo's playing so close to tower.
He moves forward just for a second, so Enryu, he can get the arena down. With the spear out, they might just have enough to kill off Cuckoo, but he'll Fairy Fire up and just go for a run. And it doesn't seem like they do in the end. Enryu just had no more spells to throw out. I mean, Cuckoo, he can make his way back to the fountain and just get a reset.
It's more time and space created here by T1 to kind of give Savage a little bit more time to farm up. He's playing that top jungle. No wards to spot him out this time around. Ardusa is still lagging a bit behind Palos now. Palos has managed to work the lane out really well. So the Morphling is still off to a good start. And Savage should be careful here.
Yeah. He does need to be very careful. He's very low on mana. He's going to make it out. And Palos has just been very aggressive on this Morphling. I mean, they have basically been 1v1 here at this top lane, and Savage just has to be very cautious to not get caught with his pants down here against Palos. And keep in mind, at any time among Dia, he can make the rotation up, and he doesn't have much net worth, but it doesn't really matter with the Tinker. He's just going to press some buttons and get that damage out. For now, though, they'll leave Savage be. He'll rotate to the jungle anyway now, so he's within the safety of his Dire jungle by the outpost, and well, there should be not too much that they can do about it here on OB.Neon.
Yep, just trying to build that farm up, getting pulled up. T1 are going to try to shove in that mid, so they're looking to maybe open up the map a little bit more, start contesting that farm. No rotations yet from Neon. They do need, I believe, Enryu with the arena up there. Does have the TP ready, but the tower will melt fast if Carl's allowed to just right-click it down.
He won't be able to. Does get a fair bit of damage off, but the tier 1 mid is going to remain standing. And we saw this last game around with OB.Neon, and it did kind of feel like that was the trick to beating T1. Mind you, they had a tree and protector last game around, so they constantly were able to heal that tower back up. This time around, they don't have anything of the sort. They're just going to have to kind of throw their bodies every single time that T1 want to try and pressure that mid. Because it's not going to be easy against heroes like the Enchantress, who can just throw creeps over and over again. And it's like you kind of pointed out as well. Carl, he does hit pretty hard on that Lina. It can be pretty rough to try and defend against him. Bot lane, though, they've got Cuckoo down. This time around, he does get trapped in the arena, and MLP joins in to pick up his first kill of the game.
Nice pickup there. Great arena use. Cuckoo is all isolated by himself. No backup there from T1 as they're still kind of focusing on mid. Zephyr is just using the creeps to cut, trying to shove that out, forcing a response out, creating an opening once more for Neon. We saw that in game 2 as well, Mike, where they start not really playing together on T1, start giving openings like that. It does become really dangerous for the course of T1. Even Savage is starting to get a bit bullied out by Palos now just for the red shirts. Although
Palos. Yeah, he's in trouble, but he's going to stick charge up in time. In fact, he even moves towards Savage. He's going to be okay. Whitemon just constantly trying to get this Morphling down, but that time around, Savage did not have enough mana for the Mystic Snake, and that does allow the Morphling to get out with his life intact.
Yeah, very lucky, man. Palos just playing on the edge. He has not really left that top lane as well. Same situation with Savage. So both of these pause ones are kind of keeping each other in check and farm. And Palos is actually winning out because of that. Very slight gold lead for him, but he's just forcing Savage to play a lot more defensively. He can't really reach the deeper parts of his jungle for Savage, and he can't get that flash farm going as you'd want them to do so with stacks. Like, there should be an opportunity to build some huge stacks here for Savage to build to work towards. Nothing quite yet. Cuckoo and Carl are taking that space over.
And they've got Zephyr. Fiend's Grip kind of looks weird here being committed, but it's going to mean another kill out for MLP. Again, it's all these catch-up kills for this Tinker that's going to really enable OB.Neon throughout this mid-game. They are certainly finding them over and over again.
Yeah, just starting to hold the line here on Neon's part. Again, it's back to T1 and how they're playing right now. They're not applying pressure on the map at all, Mike. They were trying to shove in mid with Zephyr a couple of times, but they didn't really bring the bodies forward. So Neon didn't need to respond strongly as well. And because they're playing a little bit more passively, they're kind of just allowing Neon to find openings. They're playing together as 2, as 3. They've got the Blink up in Ryu now, Mike. So they're going to look for another Blink Arena play. Cuckoo could be the target to go for once again, and they could just have MLP rotate in if need be.
Yeah, certainly so. I mean, at what point do you think T1 wants to start applying pressure on the map, John? Like, is it 10 minutes from now? Like, are we hitting that timing very soon? Because it does feel like Palos is going to be ready to fight very, very soon. In fact, the way he's playing, it feels like he's ready right now. But hold that thought, because bot lane, they're going to get started onto a bang. But he does tank the game. Not the biggest deal here for OB.Neon, just losing that pos 5 Bane.
Yeah, not the biggest kill. Neon were the ones to smoke up earlier on for that. So they just kind of bleed out a kill where they don't have to. Still, they managed to clear out the top tier 1 there. Going back to your question, Mike, I think you're going to need to maybe solo Savage.
Yeah, he's been caught out, but you do have Cuckoo around there to make sure he does remain safe. I think the objective here for the side of OB.Neon is just make sure Savage does not feel comfortable around his own jungle. And we've seen this over and over again. If the Medusa can't hit the jungle, you're probably not going to win the game.
Yeah, it's just tough for Savage. He hasn't had real access to his jungle in a while. Cuckoo, Carl have been clearing out the top and triangle areas. They do manage to get a bit of a push down bot off the back of that movement, though. T1 managing to open up that bot jungle a little bit more for farm. But they need to find something for Medusa to do. She's still lagging about 400 gold behind Palos. The Morphling's still going to do a lot more with a lot less items. So the key thing is that Savage needs a bit of a gold advantage to really have that early power spike you want on Medusa. There's just not enough room to enable that. I think for T1, back to that question, Mike, BKBs. You already have a BKB up on Carl. Cuckoo is not too far off as well. Once you have those 2 years with BKBs, you could probably just run around and do what you want. You know, you don't need to worry about Tinker. You might need to worry about the Bane, but at least the other core can do what they want. Do the damage, try to get the control off, and run from there. So I think you're going to need that spell immunity early on, and then they're going to need to create space for Savage to get really big here.
Well, that mid tier 1 tower looks like it might just drop here thanks to T1. Narman, he's around. Cuckoo, though, is going to intercept onto that Rubik. That should be a nice free kill hit for Cuckoo. As the Dragon Slave, it doesn't connect. Well, that looked a little bit awkward there. I could have sworn it hit him, but it's that classic up the stairs that kind of ruins the, I don't know what you call it, John, but the Dragon Slave, it does not end up connecting.
Yeah, the hitbox shenanigans on stairs is always kind of confusing with a perspective. It does happen sometimes. Still, Palos a bit forward here.
Yeah, but I think Carl Needs to be a little bit careful because Palos, he's willing to fight. Zephyr's going to show up now, and so will Whitemon. There's one stun out into the fire blast for Carl. He's focused on the other side on the creep wave. Now Narman shows up with Enryu, and they'll go after Zephyr. This might be a kill, or maybe not, because T1, they group up with even more heroes and keep moving forward onto OB.Neon, onto Narman this time around. They may have found the Rubik, and they will. Nice little pick up there for T1. Obviously not quite what they wanted, but they'll have to take it.
Yeah, not the biggest kill. Paolo's still going to be happy being safe there for the backup, and Enryu's still looking for that opportunity. Does not have the arena anymore. They are trying to secure their Morphling's position. T1 starting to make some plays that does force responses out, and Savage is playing on the opposite side of the map. So this is kind of what T1 needed to do. Just play it together, force something out to ensure your Medusa's not being hunted, and keep stalling out for the Medusa to grow big. There is still a network gap between Savage and Palos, but it's still not completely unplayable for the Medusa. And we have reached that point where, again, the BKB for Cuckoo's almost up. They've still got the fresh charge up on Carl that hasn't been expended as well. They can kind of just keep running without worrying about that control and damage coming through from the Tinker. As long as Mamangaya can't hurt you, he's not going to be a big factor in these fights until those BKBs fade.
T1, look, you see the way they're positioned here with Cuckoo and Whitemon, John. They're just trying to buy that jungle space for their Deucer. And mind you, Savage, he is in the triangle now. So he is safe. But T1, they just do not want to allow this jungle to go the way of OB.Neon. And OB.Neon, they haven't gotten that mid-tier 1 tower yet anyway. So they don't quite deserve to have that jungle. T1 know that. They're going to try and just make sure they never enter again. You see how confident Palos is at that top lane? No matter who shows up, he'll just stand there and just kind of start hitting them. Now they bring more behind him. 4 heroes smoked up behind Palos. In fact, OB.Neon, they'll go towards that mid lane with Enryu. They may just find Cuckoo on this Razor as Narman. He's going to make the jump in. Arena down, Spear is out, and they should have themselves a very free kill as Cuckoo is somehow still alive, but not for long. Enryu will pick up the kill. And OB.Neon, they won't stick around for the tier 1 mid. They'll just keep roaming the map together.
Yeah, just keep forcing the fights out, keep trying to find these pickoffs. Bang.
He's got the Fiend's grip if he needs it. But Carl's here on that Lina with the BKB, but a nice Nightmare dodge. It just won't matter. You had the Laguna there from Carl, and he wants a little bit more. But Narman, he'll blink out, and he even took the Laguna Blade away. So now you've got to worry about that if you are T1. In fact, you might worry right now as Carl almost gets speared up there by Enryu. But looks like he is barely going to be able to avoid it.
And it's now you're seeing where Neon is, again, the team that's now applying pressure on the map. They know that T1's kind of just clumping up, playing defensively, so they can just work the map to their advantage.
Oh, Enryu just so confident to make the jump into the high ground, and Zephyr is going to drop. Because you got that slight vision there with that Radiant Observer Ward, and oh, this is when things get a little bit silly, John. Mamangaya now, he's got the Aghanim Scepter up. Let the quote-unquote fun begin, Jonathan.
Yep, this is where the fun begins, Mike. Shrink Ray is up and running. T1, I mean, they've got the early BKBs they need, but they really need to use them all cool, too.
Yeah, Fiend's Grip out, and Shrink Ray. He's a very, very small Razor. Yeah, he's going to drop as a bang. Just Nightmares up Whitemon and walks out of there, and of course Mamangaya, he just TPs out, run in front of their eyes. They can still try to chase down a Bang, but you've only got the Ogre and the Medusa. To be fair, a Bang is very low in HP right now, but the Mystic Snake will not connect onto the Bane. A Bang, he's still going to try and juke this one out, but he is trapped in the tree line, and eventually will end up going down to Whitemon.
Yep, they do at least give the kill away to the Ogre instead, so Savage isn't getting as much as he'd want there. There's some movement top, though.
Yeah, nice Laguna out from Narman onto Carl. Carl, he'll try to turn back onto Palos, but he is still surviving. Stonegaze out. Narman, he'll try to TP out. He's going to TP right in front of them. They cannot stop it. Now Carl's in trouble. Enryu jumps right back in. They've got the Lina down. Palos, he has somehow survived throughout all of this as he backs into the tree line. They don't have the damage quite yet. They'll try back in onto Enryu, but he's TPing out again. Just TP forehead. They can't stop them. They've only got 2 stuns, John.
Yeah, we talked about that from Draft, Mike. There's a lot of pressure on Whitemon and on Carl to keep them pinned up. And that's it. Like, there's no way to stop it again. Like, it reminds me once more of Game 2 where the control was a lot better on Neon, and T1 just didn't have that same control. So you have some issues. Maybe you can kind of itemize against that. Say Ags on Savage kind of helps you there with Mystic Snake bounces turning into stone. So you could at least rely on that as a sort of stun. The Petrify could be one way to go about it, but beyond that, there's just no easy ways of stopping the mobility of Neon. Like, not just the Morphling, not just the Mars, but how do you even stop a Tinker just TPing in and just using all his spells? Even with your BKBs, eventually that will fade down. You can't just wait 6 seconds anymore and try to burst someone down. Die is just going to be ready for it.
And he will. Bot lane. Palos messing around here with Savage. You've got more heroes from OB.Neon showing up. Lincoln's broken, but a Bang moving in with the Fiend's Grip. Looking for that angle. He's not going to be able to find it yet. Savage, he backs off at the right time, and you've still got Whitemon there to make sure he does at least remain safe. Still, more heroes coming up. OB.Neon, they're not done yet. They might just settle for Whitemon instead. It's the Nightmare. Not going to be within range for Whitemon, but they'll try to turn. There's your Nightmare out. Savage, he'll Manta straight off the bat as Whitemon. He'll keep chasing them down, but on the side, Palos, he is just running towards the north, though. A Bang, he has been left behind. And T1, they will at least get a support for their troubles towards the south. Who have they got? Palos, he'll make the jump in onto Zephyr. A 1-for-1 in terms of support so far. But they're still kiting in and out. Enryu's back in onto Carl, but the spear is going to be off the mark. And it's back in onto Palos, but that Lincoln Sphere is just making it so hard to actually be able to lock him down. And Palos, he'll just confidently move his way back into the triangle. And T1, they can't do anything about it.
No, they just can't. Like, they can try to hold as much as they can, but once Mamangaya comes in with the rockets, you can't really do much about that. The damage is just overwhelming flying out from Tinker. T1, I think they'll take that trade. Support for support, not the biggest loss for either side. OB.Neon are still sort of the aggressors here. They're the ones playing really far forward into that triangle. They're preventing Savage from finding some farm. Savage still working towards that Scotty, although.
Yeah, they make the jump in on the Mars mid lane. Whitemon will chase him down, but it doesn't seem like they have quite enough as the spear away is there. Zephyr, he does at least get the slow off, so Whitemon, he might be able to land another Fire Blast, but the Fog is saving the life of the Mars so far. Whitemon eventually does land the stun, though, and that'll be a very important kill for T1, but OB.Neon will have a quick pause out by Mamangaya. And we have the go-ahead.
In and out, you know how it is sometimes. Great pick-off for T1, though. Keeping Enryu down, that is a sign of life for T1. They're starting to really play aggressively with a Shadow Blade up on Carl. They're going to go for Roshan. Without the arena, it can be a bit hard to fight in that area. OB.Neon still has a lot of good control, though. If they find the angle here, they could contest if they want to.
Still very, very scary here for T1 as the waveform is out. They've already lost Whitemon, but now the Fiend's Grip is there. Cuckoo, he's been trapped up. They do stop it, but Cuckoo, he's forced to just run away as Palos. He'll just keep chasing with that Morphling. He stole so much damage with the Static Link out, but now he's dropping low. Savage, I don't think you can fight this, sir. He'll move up to the high ground with no mana left. And that'll mean OB.Neon, they'll take over the Roshan. Enryu is back to join the fray to boot. Mind you, he did commit his buyback for this. But it'll be well worth it if they can secure this first Roshan of the game. In fact, Naaman, lift up, has found Zephyr. They should have enough damage eventually to take this Enchantress down. And with the spear around, Enryu will make sure of it. Roshan will go the way of OB.Neon.
Just well played from Neon. Again, they had the options to fight in that area, even without the Mars. They've got so much control, they've got great amounts of damage, and they've just got really great attrition with a Tinker. You just stand back, rocket barrage, lasers out. T1 can't do much about it besides just BKBs, and again, once those fade, you're done for. You just don't have the catch for a Tinker, and that's just making this game really tough for T1. Their control is just not amazing. When you're relying on an Ogre and Lina as your stuns, it's not the best outlook. So T1's going to have to just hold on, try to keep building up on Savage. He's lagging about 800 gold behind Palos now, considering how well the fights have been going for Neon. Still not too bad for Savage, but it's looking a lot better for Neon. Palos is up in farm. Savage and Carl are doing great, but Mamangaya is not too far behind, and he's going to have the Hex up on that Tinker Mike. So that's when the fun really begins, doesn't it? That's when the refresh Hex comes in. That's when you know you're having a great Dota up against Tinker Mike.
I'm having a lot of PTSD right now, Jonathan. Top lane, Carl. Gonna try and go after Palos, but won't be able to really lock him down. It's just kind of forced to run away from that spear from Enryu. It's T1. Starting to group up for that big team fight. Of course, keep in mind, you do have the Skadi up now on Savage, so you've got a way of kind of dealing with that strength more. Thing is, though, they are backing off and being very cautious as OB.Neon start moving forward again into that jungle. I mean, Palos still very confident, even with that Skadi available now on the Dusa. Enryu, and he's slowed up. He'll go for the spear, but he's been left behind. He'll try for the TP play, but this time they'll have the stun. That'll be a nice little pick up there for T1 as OB.Neon, they'll have to go back to the drawing board.
They back off. They lose a pretty nice core, but this is sacrificing Kuku's BKB for these kills. So it's down to 7 seconds now. Next time around, you're down to 6. And that's where issues may arise. Again, you have to worry about that Tinker in the back line when Mamang Daya does decide to show up. So these are the compromises T1 are making. Sure, they find a kill. Enryu is more than happy to throw his life away at this point, because the main focus is Palos and to an extent Mamang Daya. Like, the Mars is pretty well farmed at this point with just the Heaven's Halberd, so you're already okay. You're already kind of set up here with Blink and Halberd up to just stop Savage and Carl if need be. I think for T1, they need to find juicier kills. They need to pin down Palos somehow. He still has the Aegis up, so he's a very hard target to go for. Maybe if you can somehow catch out Mamang Daya, that's one way to kind of nip this in the bud as well. And they will go for a smoke play. Bit of a run up top, so it looks like Palos is going to be called here.
Keep in mind that Lincoln's is available with the Aegis up, so you're going to have to deal with him twice. And, well, Carl is going to spot him out with the Light Strike Array, but it is not going to land. Palos, you lucky, lucky man indeed. He just walks out of there. I say lucky, John. Not so lucky, just quick reactions up.
Yeah, I mean, it's an optimistic kill for T1. Even if you kill him once, can you really kill him twice with a Tinker looming over your heads with a counter smoke coming out from Neon possibly coming through as well? It's just not the smoothest target you could vote for, and that's the issue for T1. Like, you could maybe try to kill Enryu again, alright. Kill the Mars to get some gold. Not the target you want to keep down. You try to jump a Morphling, do you have enough control? Do you have enough damage?
Carl.
You don't have that much damage running just yet.
Oh, Carl. He tried to Silver Edge away, but they had the Sentry Observer already planted this. They knew Carl was going to make that rotation down and think he's safe with the Silver Edge, but that was not the case of Bing. He was one step ahead.
That is just heads up from Neon. They know exactly where T1 wants to play. They managed to punish Carl. He is, again, the secondary scaling core here. And he's been kept down a lot. At the least, that buys time for Savage to have the Ags up.
That's a big arena down. They've got Zephyr trapped up, but the Stone Gaze is going to be committed. Enryu is still not stoned up. He'll just walk away from this as T1. They have managed to survive through it. Arena down, but so will Stone Gaze be as Palos, he's moving into the tier 3 tower. He just wants to go right after that Morphling, or rather the Medusa with the spear out. They've locked him down. Savage is trying to just run. It's not looking great for him. He's still trying. He is still surviving as now Palos is in trouble. They'll get him once. They got the Master Boot, but here come the rockets and here come the lasers. Palos is not done yet. Onto Zephyr they go. Whitemore will drop to boot, but somehow Savage will walk out of there.
Yeah, Savage is safe. I think that's really the target T1 wants to keep safe. But Mike, there's that sight of Vice up now in Daya. So hey, it wasn't in the last fight. It's gonna be here in the next fight. How are you gonna deal with those hexes? I'm not sure. Still, the Ags of Savage was enough to kind of break off that fight, right? The arena came down, but instant petrify from that Mystic Snake made it hard to follow through, and they had to commit a lot. They had to dive under tier 2, dive under tier 3 to try to find those kills. For T1, that does mean their high ground's still safe, because the mid doesn't fall, their racks aren't under threat. And for Neon, if they do manage to find some good kills, it doesn't translate to objectives, which is maybe what they're missing out on now. I mean, they've got the top lane to play with if they want to. I think they'd rather clear out the tier 2s to go for a Mega Creeps play, or just go for the Jugular when they find that opening. So have to kind of be cautious about overcommitting like that, because that just gives T1 some time to stall out and prevent you from actually taking objectives. Still, I mean, Palos is huge now. He's got Butterfly up. So now even if Savage can get the hits off, he's going to have to deal with that evasion, and that's just so much more durability for Palos, on top of that defense matrix as well that he's always going to have. So it's getting harder and harder to hold down this Morphling in this game.
And it is. Palos will just move on to that tier 2 bottom tower. The white one is around on the Ogre. It's just so hard with that Lincoln's up. Just such smart item decision making here from Palos. But Henry, you got to jump in, but misses the spear on Savage. He might be in trouble now. They drop the arena to try and just defensively walk his way out. But the Light Strike Array and Laguna is there. Nightmare, it's a bit too late. Henryu, he is still alive, but eventually does end up going down. As T1, they'll move forward. They'll look for another pick-off, but it's just not going to be there for him.
They're a bit keen from Neon, going for that jump in. I feel like if you're Neon, you don't need to be the ones calling the fights, because you have really strong counter fight. Sure, you could argue that the Stone Gaze is also good counter initiation from T1. I think the arena's area denial is a little bit stronger. So you're really not under pressure to jump in and set up. You can force T1 to clump up, play from there. There is a smoke play again down bot though.
Yeah, Fiend's Grip was there on Zephyr, so they'll blow up one. More TPs coming in from OB.Neon, but T1, they seem prepared for this. Cuckoo will move in with the BKB, and Lincoln's up onto a Bang. They'll try to protect the Bane. He is somehow still alive, but eventually will go down to Cuckoo. So a nice start to the team fight here for T1, but will they commit for more? Palos, well, he'll be the one to commit. Back in on Savage they go. Savage, he'll be able to walk his way out. And OB.Neon, well, they're just not done, John. They fear nothing right now. And Carl's going to show up onto Palos, but he is underneath the sentry. And now, who have they got? It's going to be Whitemon. Another support kill out for Palos. Znarman is in with the Fire Blast onto Savage, but they just want the tier 2 bot tower. That'll be enough.
Just a nice objective to take. They sacrifice support for support, but they are managing to force T1 to respond as a unit. So you're not seeing Savage just walk away, farm up. He has to be there in these mini skirmishes to kind of make use of that Ags, and that does mean our Medusa's starting to really stagnate. Still about 1k, 1.5k gold behind Palos. That is enough for Palos to really feel a lot bigger than Medusa, because the item advantage isn't piling up here. Your Medusa isn't ahead. You're an item behind, it almost feels like, and there's still a lot more Savage needs. He's trying to work toward the Silver Edge, maybe to work towards a Lincoln's down the line as well to protect. Neon, they understand how strong they are. They're just going to smoke up and go hunting again. Like, they've got the presence of Daya, they've got the damage from Palos. Nothing to really stop them here.
Certainly not. The wraparound is there. They've got the Enchantress again, so Zephyr, he'll be there to tank the gank, but Savage, he got lifted up. Narman, he found the primary target, but do they have the damage to actually take him out? Fiend's Grip is there. They'll drain the mana out from Savage. It's not looking great for T1. Savage, though, he's still walking out with the Palos and Mamang Daya. They'll get the job done. Back in on Cuckoo they go. They want that Razor to boot, and they'll find him. Massive, massive fight here for OB.Neon. It's just so unfortunate that the Roshan timer is a long one, John. So OB.Neon, they'll have to wait it out for another minute. And T1 will respawn in that time, but you're just really seeing the difference between these two teams now in this game 3. It just seems like T1, they don't have an answer to this Morphling.
Yeah, they don't have an answer to the Morphling, they don't have an answer to the Tinker. It just boils down to the fact that they're running offlane Razor with Lina mid and a Medusa safe. Look, there's no big teamfight combination there. They don't have something like Arena with a Stone Gaze. They don't have Ravage with a Stone Gaze. They don't have an Egg combination. They don't have anything to force control out, or even to just hold down steady on a single target. They've got Fire Blast and LSA. And that's it for their control. They can't pin down someone, just focus in, try to get that burst window going, because there's so much more from Neon to save. They've got saving plays with Nightmare. They've got great hold on their end. They've got Mamang Dai just standing back, being a complete nuisance. And that just gives Neon that big opening. Widow's kills, they take the mid. They aren't going to fully commit for the rest of the racks. They are just going to play it safe. Roshan up in 10, Mike. So they can go back, take Rosh instead, get the free shard, and go back high ground afterwards. Again, no pressure on Neon because they've got great scaling with the Morphling in this game, and with Mamang Daya just going completely ham on Tinker.
And in we go. Roshan does spawn up. Naturally, a DD rune down at the bot rune spot, but nobody spots that one out, so Roshan it'll be. And T1, they're going to smoke and try to make their way over. They definitely can't really afford to lose this Roshan. Not right now, they can't. But Roshan's going down a little bit too fast in the Bing. He's in position to break the smoke. It is way too late, it seems. They try, but Palos, he's already picked up the Aegis. And that'll be enough. OB.Neon, they won't do anything too risky here, but just back off to their high ground. T1, again, just missing out.
It's not even an area I feel like they can really fight well in. You could maybe line up for a big LSA. But again, just the follow-up from that doesn't feel great. Like, Savage, I suppose, with Mystic Snake could try, although.
Yeah, he's been hexed up. He's going to be fine, though. With the invis, apparently they just couldn't see him. Mamang Dai couldn't get the secondary hex off, and Carl, he's able to run away.
Gets out by the skin of his teeth. The side of Neon are still in a really good spot, 10k up. I mean, you're reaching a point where Carl is trying to become a big win condition instead. Like, Savage is also trying to go into damage, but has to divert for that BKB we talked about, because he was going for, I think, a Silver Edge. Now he switched out to that BKB. He just needs spell immunity, and again, it's just that factor that you're a Dusa, you don't have an item advantage, just didn't hit that early spike that you need to. Now you're kind of playing from behind. It's not impossible. It'll take way more time. T1 are smoked up, though. The side of Neon are playing under a ward, so they're kind of seen on the map here.
Yeah, Carl, I mean, he's going to try and make his way over, but they just don't have the entry. I mean, make matters worse, Palos has got a full Daedalus now in the backpack, just waiting to be used. It's like he might just hold out on using it until that Aegis does expire, or maybe even just get rid of the treads, but certainly very, very scary times here for T1. They might try to force the fight at this top lane, but I'm not sure if they can actually get it done. They need the perfect initiation. Preferably on the Tinker. If not that, on Palos. Enryu, he'll throw a spear out, but it won't be on the mark. Palos, though, he's just so brave to jump in into 4 heroes. Waveform out onto Whitemon. Just takes him down. They can't do anything about it. Now the arena's there. Savage, he has been caught out as Palos is just going right after Cuckoo, but never mind him. They'll go after Mamang Daya on that Tinker. Palos now, he'll focus down Carl, though. On that Lina, he is gone. The Shrink Ray just flying out as well as Cuckoo. He's going to get dropped, and Palos, he's backing onto that main target. He's got Savage. Savage needs help right now, but he's not going to have it. In fact, Palos, he's not done yet. Onto the high ground looking for more. But there's nobody left from T1 to kill off here for Palos. They'll move into that tier 3 tower. And John, with no buybacks for the next minute for Cuckoo and Savage, it looks like they may just get megged.
Yeah, there's no real way to stop this. Like, even if you had to buy back on Savage, he does not have the Stone Gaze to kind of force some sort of soft AoE control out. And Palos is just way too big. He still has Aegis for 2 minutes. They didn't manage to get that first life at all on the Morphling. So he's still very comfy playing front line for the team. Mamangai just standing back. He's got his Aeon Disc up, so you can't just insta-burst him as we saw last time. And they can just go for it. Like, T1, they can play against Megas. They've got the Deuces, they've got Lina. A Razor to an extent can also hold out, but it's not... It's getting harder and harder to see them kind of switch this game out. Neon has just had this fantastic time building up, playing around with their own timings, and I feel like it's really down to Mom and Dai being able to just win out mid. Not even win, maybe just kind of draw out mid, but from there, the Tinker just took over and there was just no counter pick for it.
Tier 4's under siege now. You've got one more chance if you're T1, but you're going to have to do this without your position 1, again, Palos just into the backside onto Zephyr, blows him up. They've at least got an armor down on the Rubik for now. Enryu, a nice arena, does catch out Whitemon as Palos. Where are we going, sir? Never mind him, because Mamang Daya will get it done himself. He takes down Whitemon, and there goes Cuckoo. Everybody's just getting blown up by this Tinker. And here comes Savage. He'll join into the meat grinder of Palos as Carl. He'll drop. They'll pop the Stone Gaze, they'll try one last time. It's Savage and Zephyr, though, against the world, and Palos, well, he might purposely die here, John. He doesn't care. That's GG. 2-1 the way of OB.Neon, and you know, John, we've done this before, right? We've doubted OB.Neon's drafts, but they oh my goodness. What is going on here, John?
Intro boys was yelled out. Intro boys for T1. They won the first game. Like, game 2, game 3. We're seeing the Neon that won Huya. You can see that conference. I don't think anyone expect this going into this day, right? Like, even if Neon won Huya, it's like, yeah, all right, they won Huya. but T1 is T1. T1 in game 1 looked amazing. I think a lot of people were like, all right, that's what we expected. Game 2 goes out well. Game 3 just insanely well for Neon, and they just play it fantastically. Like, I mean, we were talking about Mamang Daya, right? We were talking about his mid picks. We were talking about, say, Darkseer coming out. I'm trying to recall the time he played Tinker and Army Geniuses. I can't recall, and we've watched a lot of the games, but it comes out. He plays insanely well. And the draft, I feel like it's down to a little bit of draft, because T1, again, go into this point where their stuns were an Ogre Magi Lina. They had no way of catching out to Tinker. There was no Nyx, no Clockwork pick, nothing to kind of set up. No team fight coming out because they had a Razor off lane. So Neon just bring out this fighting lineup that, again, just counteracted what T1 wanted to do in terms of just building up on Savage. And they just kind of get running from there.
Well, let's not compliment the Tinker pick too much, Jonathan. I don't want to see this in my pubs later on. So let's just keep it at that. OB.Neon, obviously, congratulations for them for taking 2-1 against T1. And with that, John, we'll head off to a break, and we'll be back with our lovely panel to break down this series overall. See you then.